Hello, my name is Arthur, and in this video we're going to make a camouflage blind. So something for my vehicles to be able to hide in, basically. So we'll get rid of the light in the camera and we'll start off with the cube. We'll turn it into our frame. So let's just give it that name, frame. We'll scale that to 0.05. Zoom in, come into X-ray, we'll go into a front view. Let's open up this dialog. We'll go to global measurements and we'll put this on to 0. And we'll put this up to 4 meters. So we'll go about 4 meters tall at the edges and make it 9 by 9. So we'll just select all of this. We'll move it to 4.5. Let's Control A, Control C to copy that value. So now we'll have 4.5 in the clipboard. So we can move that one there, Shift duplicate that, right click, and we'll just add a minus sign to both of these values. And that will move it to the opposite corner. So that's 2 corners. Period, 3D cursor, Shift duplicate, R to rotate 90 degrees. That gets us our 4 corners. We'll select this one, go to a front view, period, median point, Shift D, rotate 90. We'll just 0 that. So move it to the center like this. And we'll put it at 4 meters so it's kind of at the top. Go to a top view, we can rotate that 45 degrees. If we select each corner, we'll have a negative and a positive, and we'll leave the negative and positives and we'll just paste in 4.5. So that one's positive and this one's negative. And that will move that into its right place. This time they're opposite. So we'll just leave the negative sign, paste. Paste. We can loop cut that so it has this cut in the center, and then plus. So Control plus so that it selects to all. Shift duplicate, rotate that 90 degrees. We'll box select the center and Control plus. Then we can kind of line up so we can see here. And we'll bring the top down until it's inside. So let's put it into solid view so we can see when it drops inside. That's close enough. We'll go back into X-ray. Select just that center. And pull it up so it's kind of tent-like. So that'll just be our frame for our tent to cover over top of. And we'll UV edit that. So select all, UV, Smart UV Project, OK, materials. We'll call this wood. My project already has an image texture for wood, and that's just a pattern filled into a Gimp canvas. So it's a Gimp pattern. And that's in with all of the other patterns. And I'm pretty sure we made that on video anyways. So that's it. That's our frame. It's nothing special or anything. It's just something for some appearance. So the next thing we'll do is we'll get into Gimp and we'll make the net. So the camouflage net. Now we already have a camouflage image too. And that's the one that's on top of the vehicle, so I'm just going to use that one. Saturation, we'll bring the saturation down on that. Okay, and that looks fine. We can zoom in a little bit so we can see. I think this brush will probably do a good job on it. Let's look at our size though. Oops, that's not going to work out. First thing we have to do is we actually have to add in an alpha channel, so we're deleting down to transparency. We'll have a look at how that looks. That's a bit much. Let's try bringing the size down and see how that looks. So that looks okay. We'll just go around. Try not to go over spots too hard if we can, and maybe we'll go over with this one on some of the bigger ones just to break them up a little bit. So maybe something like that. And that'll probably be good like that. So we'll try it out and see how that looks. So we'll export that one, desktop, map assets. Let's try, let's call this net underscore camo. That will work. We'll save that. We'll come into Blender. We'll add that as a plane. So images as planes, desktop, map assets, camo, scale 9.2. So it should be just a little bit bigger than the frame. That looks okay. And the camouflage looks okay too. Let's take it into edit mode. Global. We'll move it up to 4.02. That should be just a little bit above the frame. Yeah, that'll work out. So now we can do something like, well, let's see what our front is. Yeah, we'll start on this edge. So we'll snap our cursor to selected. We'll select the whole thing. Period. 3D cursor so we can rotate. And we'll go Shift D, duplicate, rotate Y. And we'll use the control key. And we'll just rotate that to its 90-degree angle. Then let's snap cursor to world origin. Go to a top view. Shift duplicate, rotate 90. Shift duplicate, rotate 90. And do one more. Duplicate, rotate 90. And that'll fill this all in. Now we're going to merge them, so we'll merge by distance. Let's select all, merge by distance. That will join them up, and then we'll separate the top because we want to subdivide that. So we'll just select that, mesh split selection. That'll separate it, and that'll let us subdivide that alone. So we'll subdivide. We'll open this window down here. We'll increase that. Something like that'll work. Even less will probably work. Let's loop cut now. So more or less to the bottom of the leg. So we're kind of going to 0. Maybe a little below, and that'll be fine like that. So we'll go into vertices. Let's get a proper tool. XRay, so that we're deleting everything. X vertices, and that will shorten us up. So we need to pull up the tent, but we're going to need to cut some lines into the top here. And in order to cut those lines, we're going to have to re-merge. So select all, merge by distance. Then we'll go to the corners. We'll put in a face, P, separate that selection. We'll get this corner, put in a face or an edge, P, separate selection, select all, mesh, knife project. And we should be able to just delete these now. That edge will ensure that the faces bend in all the places we want them to bend. Because otherwise only half of them will bend in the right direction and half of them will bend in the wrong direction. Not sure why that is, but it's what will happen. So let's go back to median point and we'll just pull this up so that it's on the other side of the frame. So we don't need to be too exacting here. We'll just select the next section, pull that up, and then pull up the middle. So that'll get us. Now we'll select what we need to make the collision shape for it, because we'll make our collision shape here. So shift, select the bottoms, shift duplicate, drop that with a right click, P, separate selection. We'll tab, we'll rename this, we'll call it blind minus col only. Come in here, we'll take away its material. Now let's find the front. So we'll consider front the positive Y direction. Tab into edit mode, go into faces, and we don't want this face. So we'll delete faces. That way there's an entrance into the little tent. So in vertices, we'll add in the faces for the top. So we'll put in a face there. So this would actually stop bullets. If we wanted to change that, we would probably look at changing our layers around a bit in Godot, so that this would stop a vehicle, but it wouldn't stop a bullet. Whoops, that's no good. So we can just hide the collision shape. We'll call this one blind. We'll pick this one up, hold down the shift key and drop it in blind. We'll pick frame up, we'll drop it in blind. Now let's see what our front was here. So we'll turn that collision shape back on. Okay, so this is our front. We want to knife cut that. So we can turn that off. Tab, we'll select the net, tab, and we're going to cut this out. So we'll knife cut it. And just be a little bit random with that kind of thing. There's no collision shape here, so this will just be for looks. We'll just do something like this. Try to avoid hitting the edges. Wouldn't really matter that much, but I'd rather not have them hit the edge. So just something like this, and that'll all be fine. Enter. That gives us a face. X, delete faces, and there's our entrance. So that all looks good. We can tab into object mode. Let's look at our material. Let's bring up the roughness on that. So it's like that. And then for a last thing, we could add a solidify. and that will give it a little bit of thickness, I guess. So how does that look? Yeah, that looks okay. So we'll just apply that, and that's pretty much it. That's ready to export. So we'll file, export, GLTF. We'll navigate to my project, world, assets, buildings, imports. Blind, green. Export that. We'll open up Godot. That should come right in. We'll open up our map. And we'll find that. Import. Open that up. So it has a collision shape, and that looks good. So we can basically just save this. So we'll save it. We'll just go up a directory and save, and we can drop that right in the map and see how it looks. So that could use coming forward so it's not inside of those trees. So something like that. Looks like it's kind of off of the ground. Kind of have the impression that my ground isn't quite where it should be. I've checked to transform. Maybe I did something when I modeled it or something. I don't know. So let's have a look at that. The frame stands out a little bit. Maybe it's a bit much. How does that look from the inside? So it hides the player from the enemy vehicle because his ray cast hits this structure now. So it does act to camouflage the player unless an enemy came through the front, came past the front, they wouldn't be able to see the player. Casts a shadow too. I like how the shadow is coming through with the transparency. Looks pretty good. So we'll just turn around and see what that looks like from the outside. Maybe the camouflage net is a little bit sparse. Maybe there could have been more to that. Let's go out a little bit further. See it from a little bit of distance with the trees around it. And see what that looks like. So that's pretty much it for this video. That's my quick camouflage tent or blind. And looks pretty good. We can see our enemy off in the distance there. He got fooled by it, so there's somewhere to stash our vehicles. So that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful, and until the next video, take care.